Holden getting underneath. Maltz, great catch by Bernhardt. Score! Hello, highlight reel.
Play like a champion today. Notre Dame with its first title in men's lacrosse.
Hi, college lacrosse fans. Welcome to week 11 of College Lacrosse Game Day. We cover every game every week, and this week we are joined by Maryland senior attackman Eric Malever to help us get ready for the rivalry. Maryland and Hopkins at Homewood, ton on the line for both these Big Ten programs, and without question, it's one of our Lax.com games of the week. My name is Dan Ryan.
I'm Brett Williams.
I'm Hayden Fry.
I'm Mike Christensen.
Cheers.
Friday, April 12th, Merrimack defeats UMass Lowell 14-9. I'll say it, I'm disappointed in Merrimack this year. I like seeing them succeed.
If you saw Utah murder Mercer, you may love this game more than I do. Mormons win 20-9.
The rock fight in Lewiston, Pennsylvania results in Bucknell up 2 on Lemoyne 9-7. Jazz Zanelli had 18 saves, the Bison.
Saturday, April 13th, there are some phenomenal goaltenders in the Big Ten, but Logan McNaney might be the best one of them all. Maryland pulls away against Rutgers 11-6.
Marist almost doubles up LIU 15-8. This pack of Red Foxes are hungrier than ever.
In an A10 tilt where High Point goes 15 of 17 at the X, Richmond, led by short stick D-Midi Jack Pilling, who had a ground ball, an assist, and 5 caused turnovers, find a way to get it done. 9-5 Spiders.
In a defensive Patriot League battle, Lehigh holds off a hot Colgate team 9-7. Quinn Armstrong and Scott Cole combined for 8 of the 9 goals.
Dartmouth led early, but Yale reminded themselves they are playing Dartmouth. 20-13 win for the Dogs. Casual 9-point performance from Matt Brandow.
They did it. Spring has finally sprung for the Brown Bears. They upset Princeton 13-12.
Every time Ryan Bells scores, a Friar gets its wings, and Providence moves closer and closer to the Big East tourney. They beat Marquette 13-10.
4 goals in 57 seconds. Incredible. Fry, Radomski, Olmsted, 11-10 Siena over Manhattan.
Down 8-6 going into the final frame of a top 10 matchup, Denver wins the fourth quarter 4-0 to defeat Big East big brother Georgetown 10-8 at Peter Barton.
Binghamton went down to the local McDonald's and got UMBC a 20 burger and a number 1 meal. Bearcats 21, Retrievers 10.
They went to St. John's, winless in conference, and they left Queens, New York with the 14-9 win. This is Nova. Villanova.
UMass put on a clinic for St. Bonnie's this past weekend, 15-3. Rumors are the Drip King was signing autographs with his stick of eye black after the game.
The Heels were running on hot tar after going down 10-4 against Cuse. They get it to 10-9 late, but a stick save from Mark and a trail check from Alexo secures the ACC win for the Orange.
The Albany Great Danes found great lanes in the NJIT defense. Silas Richmond, Ryan Doherty, and Graydon Hogg all tallied hat-tricks in a 14-9 win.
Loyola says YOLO and beats the Crusaders 15-6. The boys in Worcester are at a holy crossroads.
Quakers shake the Crimson at Franklin Field. They beat the Professor Burns class by 3, Penn 15, Harvard 12.
Down 12-8. Hofstra scored 4 straight, but Jack Joyner said wait, and Drexel held on late to give them hope for a date with the CAA championship. 13-12 Dragons.
They say cats have 9 lives. The Lafayette Leopards kept one of them at Nickerson Field, beating BU 11-10.
The Black Knights sang second at Mikey Stadium in front of 10,000 plus fans. If Sean Byrne defends our freedom as well as he did the back of the net Saturday, we are in good hands. Army beats Navy 13-8.
Quinnipiac keeps the VMI Keydets in their bunkers for one more week. Mason Oak wasn't shell-shocked at all. He made 17 saves, 13-12 Bobcats.
Sacred Heart enters the People's Top 20 with a perfect 8-0 record in the MAC after mounting the Mount 16-5.
Penn State's number 7 had 7 points and overpowered a Michigan team that won 68% of faceoffs. That's execution, 14-8 Nittany Lions.
9-4 on the year, 6-1 in the ASUN. Jacksonville quadruples Lindenwood 20-5. Griner and Brown both have 7 points.
Rock Chalk, the St. Joe Hawks beat the Statesmen on Boswell 12-7.
The Tigers beat the Pirates of the CAA by 23, covering the 19-point spread set by Vegas. Towson 25, Hampton 2.
CAA 1-goal road win for Fairfield over Monmouth. Ford nets 4. Coleman has 5 points, 11-10 Stags.
Delaware beats Stony Brook 16-12. Kevin Ellington deserves some beef Wellington from Omaha Steaks after his 21-save performance.
Nick Martini's 4 goals wasn't enough to push Wagner past Canisius. Micah Hansen was clamping. 65% at the X, 9-7 Golden Griffins.
Big American East win for Vermont this weekend, 16-12 over Bryant. 23 saves for Egan of the Catamounts. 4 teams in the conference now sit at 3-2.
The Black Knights conquered the Viking village that is Cleveland State. Ragnar Lothbrok was on vacation in Valhalla. Bellarmine 14, Cleveland State 9.
Bobby Moe's Ben Starkey was the king against Queens in sudden death, 14-13 Colonials.
Coach Bill Wilson calls out a fleet of F-18 bombers to the crumbling city of Detroit. Air Force Falcons beat Detroit Mercy 14-3.
A shootout between Notre Dame and Cornell at LIU on Sunday, April 14th. Booker Corrigan on the call. As big of a crowd that stadium will ever see. Ben Ramsey was the hero in the final moments. 18-17, Irish.
O'Neill, Schellenberger, Danowski, Tiffany. The Blue Devils rise from the depths of hell and beat the Red Hot Cavaliers 18-12.
The Blue Jays come back to beat the Buckeyes by 1 in overtime. Hopkins is 4-0 in the Big Ten and are eyeing a Memorial Day appearance before flying south for the winter.
Tuesday, April 16th. Hofstra stays within reach of Yale. Matt Brandow drops a casual 9 points in the 16-12 victory.
Wednesday, April 17th, we patiently wait the result of Air Force against Mercer. Welcome back to another week of the Medicine Game. We are hanging out here. It's Tuesday night. Just finished watching Hofstra against Yale. Threw on Crooked Arrows for about 20 minutes or so here just to get the juices flowing, start thinking about lacrosse. And it begs the question, your favorite kind of lacrosse media outlet, entertainment source, whether that's Mitchell Puckey videos, a masterpiece like Crooked Arrows, like what would it be for you if you had to throw something on? Or
like my favorite piece of lacrosse media?
Yeah, or just show the kids, show someone who's interested in the sport. Maybe it's our podcast, but maybe it's something else.
I mean, I think Crooked Arrows was ahead of its time. Like, it's a pretty good lacrosse movie. Like all jokes aside, like it is kind of corny and cringy a little bit, but it's a good movie. Like, there's been movies made after it that are significantly worse. I don't know. Crooked Arrows nailed the lacrosse gameplay. They actually have good lacrosse players playing, which is that's all you can ask for.
Right. Coventry has some players.
Yep.
Crooked Arrows has some guys too.
Yeah.
They begin to become a team later in the year, which is inspiring for any leader of any program.
No, it's a solid movie. I'd recommend it. I don't know. It's not really a good movie. It's a good lacrosse movie.
I'd say it's good. Some good actors, some big names.
Yeah. Lyle Thompson,
the guy who plays Superman in one of the Superman movies. He's like the head guy.
Is he?
Yeah, he's in
him?
one of the Superman movies. I don't know if it's Man of Steel. I don't watch those. I'm more of a
He's
Batman
Superman
guy. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
and then the coach or the adult figure is a Native American. He might be in. I think he's actually Native American.
Oh yeah, he's in Yellowstone.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Yeah, he plays a lot of characters in pretty big shows.
Stud. But moving on, I'm going to talk about some of these games from this past week. Number one being Army-Navy, which was a spectacle at Mikey Stadium. 10,000 plus, an electric, quite literally an electric national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Electric indeed.
We had some different thoughts on that.
Yeah. I loved the presentation of it. It was fitting, It was he was a general or a high-ranking commander of some sorts, dressed to the T in uniform, and he ripped this national anthem. It didn't really sound like the national anthem, but it was.
I mean, you knew it was the national anthem.
You knew it was the national anthem. It's pretty damn American.
Obviously, but no, it was good. You can't really ask for more. They did the most they could with that, and it was good.
I was envisioning 10 people in uniform, full chorus type of action. But as a guitar player, it was solid. It was
Next year, There's always next year.
I was picturing Chris Stapleton, but
Yeah.
And then the game itself, I mean, Army pulls away early at 7-2 at one point. Mm-hmm. You think they're going to run away with it. Navy comes back and gets it to a 1-goal game before halftime. A gritty performance from both teams. Army's goaltender played phenomenally.
You did.
How many saves did he have? I think we talked about it in our recap here, but he stood in his head, and yeah, our Army's. That's a great win for them. It's a great Patriot League win for Army.
Huge win. And they talk about the hero for Navy. Well, I mean, they didn't win, but and we do talk about him later. But John Giraz, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce the last name, but he's a senior midi for Navy. He had 2 goals prior to that game, then had 4 in that goal. Number 6 attackman for Navy. He had 4 goals in that game, only 2 prior.
Senior?
Yeah, senior.
Wow. That's cool.
3 goals prior, sorry. But still, huge game for him, and he kind of took over for Navy, led their offense, got the momentum going for them. In that comeback to tie the game 7-7. So that was cool to see as well. It's just one of those gritty games where anybody could step up and win.
Yeah, that is a cool story in that game, especially a senior. Like,
yeah,
midfielder.
There was definitely
he was playing attack by the end. He was on the field.
Damn.
Yeah.
After shooting the ball like that, put him down low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely some motivation behind that, putting him in. One thing I saw that was cool was, there's a lot of mic'd up moments and footage from the game that came out afterwards. Mic'd up moments from, Army's head coach, Joe Alberici in the huddle, some of the players on the sideline, and they kept saying, we're making memories, which I thought is cool. They broke every huddle saying, let's make memories. After they scored a goal, hey, we're making memories. We're making memories. It just shows like how much this game means. It's not just another Patriot League game. This is Army Navy. It's more meaningful than that. And for us, like, we can't comprehend that. No one can comprehend that because, we don't go to one of the academies and we don't.
You only know it if you're in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or you have like a family member or know somebody. I don't.
Yeah.
But
and it's like
it's pretty damn cool.
Really winning that game is what these, kids think about for the 365 days prior to that.
Right. They're playing Hopkins and they beat the huddle saying beat Army.
Yeah.
It's just 10,000 people seem to agree who were in attendance in the rain at Mikey Stadium. So
next year we got to go.
We do. I'll go to Annapolis. I'll drive down for that game. Another great atmosphere this weekend was at LIU. Notre Dame against Cornell. Great performance from Notre Dame. They were expected to win. They get it done by a goal in the final seconds. Ramsey wins it, but I think my biggest takeaway from this game is CJ Kirst is the best player in the country. I will defend that. I think he's the best player in the country. Do you guys disagree?
Dan, I agree with you, but Hayden, you were about to say something?
I could see it. We were talking earlier, like, if the PLO could draft anybody right now, and if CJ Kirst was entering the draft, which he's not, but
anybody could enter the draft.
Yeah, but if he was draft eligible, would he go number 1 overall? And I think it's like that's a hypothetical, but it falls in the conversation of O'Neal or Schellenberger or Kavanaugh. Like, you don't really know. I think Brennan O'Neal is probably leader in that group for going number 1 overall, but yeah, you can definitely make a case that he's the best player in the country. Do you think he's going to win the Twarton? Because that's a different conversation.
I think he should. Yeah, I think he should. If I'm the Twarton committee, I want Kirst. The issue is Michael Long leads Cornell in points.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if it becomes a statistical thing, maybe, but
Kirst is getting the number 1 every game, and the whole game plan's revolved around not letting him score.
Completely.
I think that you're talking number 1 overall pick. You get the best overall well-rounded player in CJ Kirst.
And I think the biggest difference between and why people would say Brennan O'Neal is better than CJ Kirst, obviously what happened in the World Games, of course, maybe O'Neal's accomplishments, but I think there's some level of it to it of when you watch Brennan O'Neal cradle the ball and shoot the ball on the run. It's just you watch that and say to yourself, I have never seen a player shoot the ball like that ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, this is something special. And then CJ Kirst, while I don't think he has the same, like, oh my gosh, like jaw-dropping physical ability, he does make plays and do things in games that I say to myself, wow. Mm-hmm. Seeing him step down and do a shot, I don't think anyone puts more force into everything and exaggerates their motion like him. He has some goals against Notre Dame. He had 8 points in the game. He had some goals where,
he truly takes over the game too, though.
He's their leader.
He's their leader. He's hot, Cornell's scoring 18 goals.
Against Notre Dame.
Against Notre Dame. What were we saying earlier? That's the last time Notre Dame's going to get 17 goals scored on them in fucking 2 years, 3 years.
I'll look through it, but I don't want to right now. I doubt it's happened in years, and it won't happen for years. Yeah. And that's because of CJ Kirst.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like your point with O'Neal, like I think CJ Kirst is starting to develop that identity of athleticism. Like if you were to look at like silhouettes of players, right? You couldn't see their jersey, couldn't see who they were. All you saw was a shooting form and a play style.
You could tell O'Neal.
Yes,
for sure.
And you could also probably tell CJ Kirst.
Yes.
There's not many players like that. You could tell Kavanaugh, probably tell Schellenberger. But after that, there's not many players.
Yep.
What was the announcer's name in this?
Booker Corrigan.
Booker Corrigan. Shout out to you too, man. What a phenomenal job with those one-liners. You had me cracking up all game. I think one of the most clipped ones probably was get that top right corner in Uber because it just got hammered. And I think that is hilarious.
Yeah.
And a great way to put it.
If you follow them closely, you know some of these are recycled, but you take it because they're good. They deserve to be recycled. It's like a comedian who just hits jokes out of the park. And
hopefully he's on more games this year. I don't know if he will be, but hopefully he is.
He deserves it.
He does. And another game I want to highlight before we get into our all good section, Hopkins, Ohio State. Ohio State's just continually playing great lacrosse against some good, very good Big Ten teams. Maryland, Hopkins this game, but Hopkins just finds a way to get it done, and they will take it. They will take it. They don't care about the spread. They know how hard these games are to win because they've played in them for years now, and they're winning them, and now they are 9-3. I think RPI wise, they're a top 3 team in the country.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Hopkins has just been bouncing up and down the rankings all year. Like, it seems like they're number 1, or like they weren't number 1 yet, but they're at number 3 now. It seems like they fell to like 12, and then they bounced back to like 6, and then down to 10, and now they're back up at 3. It seems like they've just been on a yo-yo of rankings.
We said it last episode. I think I mentioned it. It's just like they're sneakily winning games. They've won like 4 in a row. Yeah, 5 in a row. Remember we were saying, what were they at, like 5-3 or something? We were like questioning what happened to them and the rest of their season, but like you mentioned, and they're just finding ways to win games. They're just a good team. Yeah. Ohio State could have won that game. They were up pretty big, and they were pretty much handling them.
Yeah.
Until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they had a great start to the game. I think they were up 7-2 at one point in the first half. Ohio State has completely flipped around since the beginning of the season. I think in the beginning of the season they were playing a little bit slow. They didn't know who they were. They lost to Hopkins by 1. Before that, they lost to Maryland by 1. But they beat Rutgers before that. So, like, they can play with anybody. They're playing a lot of these teams close. And I think, Mike, you were touching on it last week. Their defense is super deep, senior heavy. Their goalie, Fayok, is a stud.
He is.
Big freshman, just takes up a lot of cage. They're a very solid team. And I think they're going to, they could win a game in the Big Ten tourney. Obviously, they play Michigan this week, so if they win that, they'll probably bump up to like the 4 seed, which would be pretty big for them. Get home field in that first round game.
They have to win it though.
That's the reality.
They have to win. They have to win the tournament. So no matter what we keep saying, they're playing some good ball right now. They have to win it all in order to make the playoffs.
Yeah. And they're going to have to win 3 games to win the tournament.
Yeah,
most likely.
I mean, I wasn't saying they're going to win the tournament, but I think they could win a game, in the first round for sure. I think they could,
They could upset somebody.
They're probably going to play like Rutgers or someone like that.
Yep. To finish this off, Hopkins last 4 wins. Rutgers 13-8, Michigan 15-11, Penn State 9-8. Then this past week in overtime against Ohio State 11-10. Maybe the hottest team in lacrosse right now.
Last thing I want to say: the Ohio State facility is legit.
I want to do this at some point. If we do a Mount Rushmore of lacrosse facilities, Ohio State.
Yeah. They have
We'll go see all these facilities eventually.
They have a packed house every game.
Big games.
Of course.
They have people. The stands are completely full. The far sideline is full. There's like a rooftop on one of the end lines that's always full. There's always a lot of people there.
Always.
It's a cool looking. It's unique looking. And also another thing to point out: Matt Collison for Hopkins. He seems to be their clutch guy. They have the ball in his hands when the game matters most.
Yep.
And they're trying to win a game. I think he's had a couple. The UVA sits in my mind, that game winner at UVA, and then he just won the Ohio State game as well.
I mean, the week before,
Big Canadian.
to Penn State.
I think it was the week before as well. Yep.
He doesn't look like a sophomore.
No.
That's for sure. All right, moving on to our all guts section. Quick reminder before we do so, like and follow the podcast. We are now on Apple Podcasts, I believe, Brett.
We are.
That is
Apple Podcasts.
That's huge news. So
Moving up in the world.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, like, follow, as well as social media at College Lacrosse Game Day, Twitter at Lacrosse Game Day. Brett, all guts, no glory. Who we got?
It starts with Lafayette upsetting BU in Boston. It was Peter Lehman who scored that game winner. He ends up with the ball after a quick clear. Goalie Jack Doherty got the ball up and out quickly. And then it was a great take by Lehman. He knows it's short time. He puts his head down. He sweeps over the top to finish off a historical upset for the Lafayette program. Next, Brown gets their second win of the year in April against number 13 Princeton. You had a feeling their 1-8 team, who had an overtime loss to Maryland on their resume, was going to upset someone by the end of the year. It happened to be Princeton. Marcus Wertheim scored with 2 minutes and 24 seconds left to break a 12-12 tie. Brown goalie Connor Terriot had a low-to-low stop on Kabiri in the final moments to complete the upset. Now the marquee event was Maction. It was Siena and Manhattan. I'll set the stage here. Manhattan is up 10-7 with 57 seconds left. It started with Fry. He switched left to right. He wraps around from X to make it 10-8. Then a clutch face-off by Dylan Pape and the clutcher timeout call from Coach Gleason. 35 seconds left now. Fry squares up his guy, delivers a deadly wing dodge, buries it underneath. Back to the X once again. Now it is 10-9 Manhattan. Pape wins it again. The clock is running, and it is Patrick Radomski, the freshman. He ties it up with 23 seconds left. 10-10 now. Guess what happens? You guessed it. Pape wins the draw, hands it to Fry. 3 seconds left, moves it forward to Caden Olmstead. Time, room, bullseye. 4 goals in 57 seconds to win. Guts, glory, and everything Siena could ask for. For the D3 rundown, last weekend, Tufts bullied Middlebury 23-11. RPI fends off Union 16-12, and Bowdoin goes back-to-back. They beat Williams 14-6 and Amherst 19-8. Tufts also just beat Babson 17-11. Some upcoming games here. We have number 2 RPI at number 17 Amherst. Number 11 Gettysburg is at number 7 Dickinson. St. Lawrence Saints, number 5 Saints play Clarkson on the Route 11 rivalry. Big game up there in the North Country. Then number 8 Union hosts Vassar on their senior day. And Bowdoin is looking for their 3rd NESCAC win in a row. They are playing Wesleyan. Hayden, how is the ranking shaking out?
Yeah, definitely some good games this past weekend. That Tufts Middlebury score said a lot about Tufts. But, not a whole lot of change in the top 20. Salisbury is still at number 1. They're 14-0. They've been the number 1 team for the last 10 weeks now. RPI is 13-0. They travel to Amherst this weekend, which will be a good test for them. I'm hoping Amherst can upset their perfect season and get a win there. RIT's at 3, Tufts 4, St. Lawrence 5. Union bumped down to 8. They play Vassar this weekend. There will be a big crowd there for that one, so expect them to get a win there. And then a couple other teams that are having good years. Babson is a team that's going to be real strong in the new MAC. They just lost to Tufts, but they are a 5th-year heavy team. They're well coached. They're going to be a team that's playing in the tournament. Endicott has turned some heads. They're 12-1. They just won tonight against Curry College. They're another team in the new MAC the CCC, excuse me, that's going to be playing in May and can definitely win some games. Kind of going down the stretch here. Union still has to play RIT. St. Lawrence still has to play RIT as well. I think
Correct. Next weekend.
So that's going to be a big game. The Liberty League's up for grabs here. RIT's obviously the top dog, but RPI is real solid too. And then, the rest of the teams are really good as well. So we'll see how it shakes out. These next few weeks are some huge games. That Dickinson-Gettysburg game is a big game for those Southern rankings. Dickinson's at number 7 right now. So, hopefully they can fall so, Union and SLU can move up a spot or two. But, we're getting into crunch time here. Conference tournaments in Division III are as competitive as any. There are going to be some great games in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But until then, we're just going to have to wait and see how the rankings shake out, who makes the tournaments, where the games are being played. That's always a big advantage for home field in Division III. So lots to look forward to here. It's going to be a great end of the year.
Agree.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Week 11 slate. A lot of awesome lacrosse games here to get you ready for. Let's dive into it.
Let's do it.
Sound good? Sweet on. All right, starting Friday, April 19th, we begin with Penn State at Rutgers. This one's at 6 p.m. Some good Friday night games.
Yeah, this is a great Big Ten matchup. Penn State is 2-2 in the league. Rutgers is 1-3. Penn State is coming off 2 straight losses to Maryland and Hopkins. That heartbreaking 9-8 OT loss to Hopkins was tough for them, but they beat Michigan pretty handily the weekend before that. TJ Malone is their guy for Penn State, 28 goals, 28 assists. Very balanced attackman who, has been showing signs of maturity this year. As far as Rutgers goes, they lost to Maryland last week. They are currently tied for 4th in the Big Ten with Michigan and Ohio State, who play each other this week. So if they win this game, they will probably move up to that 3 spot in the Big Ten. If they lose, they'll fall to the 5 spot, which, they want home field advantage of the Big Ten tournament. So this is a big game for them. And they're going to lean heavy on their seniors and their well-balanced attack, who's been playing well all year.
That's the first of 5 games Friday night. The next one is a Patriot League battle, Loyola at Navy, 7 p.m.
The battle to be on top of the Patriot League is absolutely nuts. There are 6 4-2 teams all tied for first, and this is one of those battles. Navy is coming off a loss in the big game that we already discussed today, 13-8 at Army, to a top 10 Army squad in front of a massive crowd in the pouring rain. Loyola has quietly won 4 in a row in the Patriot League since starting 0-2 with wins over Holy Cross, Bucknell, Lafayette, and most impressively, Lehigh. They are now fighting for a top seed in the Patriot League. Navy had an emergence from senior midi John Giraz, who I spoke about earlier, who has kind of emerged as an initiator for them, who had 4 goals in the big game, only 3 prior. Loyola will have to account for him and Xavier Airline, and Jackson Bonds will also have the assignment of senior attackman Evan James for Loyola, who has 40 points on the year.
Some more games. Albany goes to Yale. This one's at 7 o'clock. Albany has been up and down this year, have not been able to beat a team like Yale yet. If Yale stops transition in this game, think Pacino, they will win this game by a lot and defend their at-large hopes, which is very important at a 9-2 mark at this point in the year. Then Army at Bucknell, 7:30. Army riding high after winning the Army-Navy game 13-8. Bucknell coming off a low-scoring 7-5 victory over Lemoyne. Then an out-of-conference game. Lemoyne goes to Lafayette. They play at 7:30. The Leopards, Lafayette, coming off a program-defining 11-10 win over BU. They look to keep it up, going out of conference against a struggling Lemoyne team. Now we move on to Saturday, April 20th.
We have Sacred Heart traveling to Canisius. This one is at 11. Canisius still has a shot to make the MAC tourney. Sacred Heart is 8-0 in the MAC play, sitting pretty with the 1 seed with 1 game left to play. Next, we have Mercer at Queens. This one is at 11. Lower quality ASUN matchup here. If Mercer wins, they might have a shot at the tournament. That's best case scenario for them. Moving on, we have UNC at Notre Dame. This is at 11:30.
Yeah, this is a great game. UNC's 0-2 in the ACC. Notre Dame is 2-0. UNC needs to find an ACC win somewhere. I think their best shot was last weekend against Syracuse. It's going to be tough for them to beat Notre Dame this week. But UNC has lost the last 4, but 3 of them have been 1-goal games to High Point, Army, and Syracuse last week. So they can play anybody tough. Army and Syracuse are obviously top 10 teams. They played them tough, and they're led by a cohort of young offensive talent headlined by Owen Duffy, who's arguably the best freshman offensive player in the country right now. He has 54 points in 12 games. Alongside him is Don Petramalo, who's another freshman attackman who's having a great year. And then Logan McGovern, the grad student from Bryant, has kind of, done his job this year and kind of given us what we expected of him. This is going to come down to the specialties. UNC faceoff guy Brady Wambach. He's a freshman. He's facing off well. Colin Krieg is a staple in net for them. If those guys can play well and the young attackmen can put the ball in the back of the net, they have a chance to win this game. I don't think it's likely, but this is a game that they really do need to win.
McGovern was coming out of the box late in the Syracuse game too. One thing to keep an eye on. Now moving on to our noon games on Saturday. First one's an A-Sun matchup. Detroit Mercy at Bellarmine. This one is at noon. Bellarmine is 5-2 in conference. They're likely, I don't know if they've locked a spot in the tournament, but they'll be in it. Detroit Mercy 2-5 in the conference, fighting for maybe a step in there. Utah goes to Cleveland State. This is an A-Sun matchup at 12 noon. Good game here. Utah 6-1 in conference. Cleveland State is 4-3. CSU is the 5th spot. Utah that 1-2 spot. If they win this one and they win the next one against Queens, they will likely have the number 1 spot. Depends how Air Force finishes up. Bryant at Binghamton, 12 noon.
A Bryant win and Albany loss would propel Bryant to first in the American East. Binghamton win and Albany loss would separate Binghamton from everyone else and keep them number 1 on top of the American East. Bryant beat Binghamton last year 12-11 in a tight contest, and Bryant is 2-0 against Binghamton all time. That being said, Binghamton is coming off a massive 21-10 win over UMBC, a good UMBC squad, and have won 4 in a row in the American East, while Bryant is coming off a 16-12 loss to Vermont. Possession is huge in these types of games, as we all know, and Bryant's face-off man, Nathan LaLibertere, is number 1 in the country in face-off percentage at 64%.
St. John's traveling to Georgetown. This is at noon. Georgetown is coming off of a 10-8 loss to Denver. St. John's is coming off of a 14-9 loss to Villanova. Next, we have Denver at Providence. This is at noon.
Yeah, this is a big game. Denver's 3-0 in the conference. Providence is 2-1 in the Big East. Denver's coming off 3 straight wins. They beat Georgetown 10-8 last week, which was huge for them. They get the Hoyas out of the way, and now it seems like clear sailing to the number 1 spot for the Pios. Providence has been hot recently. They won the last 2 against Villanova and Marquette, which is huge wins for their program, and Bobby Benson, who's really kind of propelled this program forward. It feels like Providence is in unprecedented territory. They're really making a case as being that 3rd team in the Big East, which I think before the season we thought Villanova or Marquette was in that spot. But, the big thing with Providence is they struggle in net and they struggle at the face-off X. Both specialty groups, are below 45%, which is not great for them. I think Denver's going to win this game, but I also think Providence is going to make it close at home. They have a good fan base. I think that place is going to be packed. Be a great game for us to go to. So we might have boots on the ground there, but I think this is going to be a great game. I think Denver's going to win, but it's going to be close.
Might be the only chance we have to watch Denver play in this regular season, so
yeah, certainly
might have to go. Another noon game, Marist at VMI. Maction Marist is 4-4 in conference. VMI is 3-5. Both these teams are thinking about the tournament, and I know for a fact, Mike, I want to know if you agree, Marist thinks they can win this thing.
100%.
If they get a good spot in the tournament, they think they can win. BU at Lehigh, 12 noon.
Another battle at the top of the Patriot League. These are 2 more of the 4-2 teams in the Patriot League. BU is coming off a heartbreaker loss at home, 11-10 to Lafayette in the final seconds. Huge win for Lafayette. Lehigh, on the other hand, is coming off a massive 9-7 win over Colgate. Statistically, both defenses are about the same with around 10 goals against per game, and also some All-American type caliber defensive players on both sides of the ball. Roy Meyer, Richard Checo, Patrick Morrison, just to name a few. BU separates themselves with their offense at around 13 goals per game. Last meeting, BU won 14-11 over Lehigh, but Lehigh has them at all-time 7-4. I do think BU will take this one.
Next, we have Monmouth at Towson. This one is at noon. Towson coming off of a walloping of Hampton, 25-2. Monmouth coming off of a tight loss to Fairfield, 11-10. Next, we have Harvard at Cornell. This is at noon.
Yeah, Harvard really needs to win this game. They really needed to beat Penn last week. They lost 15-12. But, things are looking grim for them as far as the Ivy League tournament goes. Cornell, on the other hand, is a lock for the Ivy League tourney. They might be, in that lock category, if not likely in for at-large. But, if they beat Harvard and then Dartmouth next week, they will probably be the 1 seed. Cornell last week with
Which means they would host, too.
They would host.
Yes.
No, the tournament's at Columbia.
No. Dan Arestia said the 1 seed hosts.
Thank you, Dan Arestia.
Ivy League.
He did say that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I thought it was being played at Columbia, but maybe
Ithaca, New York.
Maybe it's like the Final Four, or I don't know. Whatever.
No,
we'll trust Dan Arestia on that one. Yep. But yeah, Cornell showed last week they can play with anybody. The big thing with them is their defense. They score. It seems like they score 18 or 19 goals a game, but their defense allows 14 goals per game, which is bottom 10 in the entire country. They really need to figure it out. They have studs. They have the pieces. They just need to figure out their goalie. They just need to figure out how to limit the knowns on the other team. So if they can do that, they're going to win this game. Harvard's obviously very talented offensively and can also play with anybody. And Harvard is really, playing with their backs against the wall here. So expect this one to be a good one. But, like I always say, Cornell seems like an impossible place to play. I like Cornell in this one.
Another noon game, NGIT at UMBC. The Retrievers are 3-2 in the American East. NGIT is 0-5 after a terrific start to their year. They're back to being the bottom of the conference. UMBC is tied for third in the league right now. They want to lock a spot in the tournament. 4 out of 8 make it, so they need this win. High Point at Hobart, noon.
This is a very important game for both teams here. A loss for Hobart means they 100% miss the A10 conference tournament. A win for Hobart and assuming win next week against St. Bonaventure gives them a chance to make the tournament, depending on a couple of other factors and how things shake up. But a win for High Point ensures they make the tournament. Hobart is coming off a rainy, cold loss in Geneva, New York to St. Joe's, 12-7, their 4th loss in a row. High Point is coming off a low-scoring 9-5 loss to Richmond. These two teams played each other for the first time last year, and it was a 1-goal decision at High Point. And this year, High Point is traveling all the way up to Geneva, New York. We'll see how this one pans out.
Mike, you're going right back-to-back, another A10 game, Richmond at UMass, 12 noon.
That's right, back-to-back. This is why this is truly the best conference in Division I landscape, and we're talking about them 2 times in a row. UMass has clinched a spot in the conference tournament, assuming that they beat St. Bonaventure, which is cool as they host it this year. The A10 works where they shift it every year, automatically predetermined. Both the 3 and 4 seeds are going to be a tough draw as Richmond and St. Joe's are playing some really, really good lacrosse at the moment, and it's honestly either one you play, that's going to be tough. But this seems to be more important for Richmond, who is playing for the 1 seed and has to play the other team fighting for a 1 seed next week in St. Joe's. There are 2 goalie X factors in this game. Both goalies are top 10 in save percentage, and witnessing UMass play in person, their goalie is what's going to decide if UMass wins this game or stays in this game. Matt Note at 56% on the year. That being said, UMass will also have to can a couple on Zach Veek for Richmond, who is at 60% and number 2 in the country in save percentage.
Next, we have St. Bonaventure at St. Joe's. This is at noon. St. Joe's is 3-0 in the A10, coming off of a 12-7 win over Hobart. St. Bonnie's is 0-3 in the A10 and a 15-3 loss to UMass. Next, we have Jacksonville at Air Force. This is at 1 p.m.
Yeah, this is going to be a good ASUN game. Air Force is 6-0, number 1 in the ASUN. Jacksonville is 6-1 in the ASUN. They're number 2. This could very well be the ASUN championship game, so we might see these 2 teams play again. But the way both these teams set up their schedule is they play top 20 teams in their first 3, 4, 5 games of the season, get battle tested, get beat up a little bit, and then they come into the ASUN ready to go. So, Air Force has to play Mercer tomorrow night, midweek game. Assuming they win that, they'll be 7-0, but they might be a little bit banged up for this game. This is really the first interesting ASUN game of the year, in my opinion. Two of the top dogs going at it, two teams that, both could be playing in May.
Good game next. We have Dartmouth at Brown. This is at 1 p.m. Battle for the bottom of the Ivy. Brown still has a chance to make the Ivy tournament, which is crazy. If they beat Dartmouth and Harvard next week, and then Princeton loses to Yale and Penn, which is likely, they would be the fourth team in. Next, we have Delaware at Drexel. This is at 1 p.m.
Delaware is fighting for a 1 seed in the CAA against Towson, who is also 5-0 in the conference. Drexel is that fun 2-3 squad. There's two other teams also at 2-3, Stony Brook and Monmouth. So this game is really huge for them to ensure they make a fourth spot, or third or fourth spot in the tournament. Delaware hasn't won any of their big-time out-of-conference games, but has gotten the job done in conference play, and most recently they beat Stony Brook by 4. Drexel is definitely the front runner of the 2 and 3 teams to beat Delaware, and they would be a scary 3 or 4 seed in the tournament if they do make it. Delaware's Kevin Ellington is number 4 in the country in save percentage, number 9 in saves per game, leading the number 4 scoring defense in the country. Mike Robinson for Delaware is 21st in the country in goals per game, and JP Ward is 20th in the country in points per game, who is leading a top 20 scoring offense for Delaware. That's going to be pretty tough to stop for Drexel. But again, I think it is a team that can beat them.
Big East noon game, Villanova at Marquette. Villanova is coming off a much-needed 14-9 win over St. John's. Marquette's disappointing year continues. They've lost 3 straight, and most recently to Providence, 13-10. A 1 p.m. CAA game, Stony Brook at Fairfield. Both these teams just jawing to get into the CAA tournament. Stony Brook is 2-3 in conference. Fairfield 3-2. This will be huge in determining their fate if they can find their way in the conference tournament at the end of the year. Then Hampton at Hofstra, that one is at 1 p.m., another CAA game. And then a great MAC game, probably the MAC game of the week, Quinnipiac at LIU, 2 p.m.
MACtion for sure. Quinnipiac was undefeated before MAC play. They were one of the last undefeated teams in the country, if everyone remembers. But this is what MACtion is. It's so much fun. They are currently tied for 3rd in the MAC. It just got off a close win over VMI 13-12. LIU has done quite well in the MAC, but this game can determine if they remain at the 2 seed behind Sacred Heart or drop to 3rd with a head-to-head loss to Quinnipiac, who's fighting to get up to the 2 seed. LIU is led by senior attackman Sean Bull, who has 42 points on the year, and Quinnipiac is led by senior midi Ryan Donnery, 51 points on the year, who is 26 in the country in points per game.
Next, we have Virginia at Syracuse. It's at 2 p.m. This will be covered in our Lax.com Games of the Week. Next, we have RMU at Lindenwood at 3 p.m. Lindenwood's 0-10. They'll probably be 0-11 after this one. Moving on to Colgate at Holy Cross. This one's at 3:30. Colgate coming off of a tight, low-scoring loss to Lehigh, 9-7. And then Holy Cross is coming off of a 15-6 loss to Loyola. Moving quickly, Big Ten matchup, Maryland at Hopkins at 4 p.m. Also a Lax.com Game of the Week.
More action. Wagner at Manhattan, 4 p.m. Wagner is 1-13, last in the MAC. Manhattan is currently tied for 3rd in the conference. They should not drop this one. Siena goes to the Mount. That one's at 4 o'clock. Mount is 1-7 in the MAC. That's very surprising. Siena's coming off a Sports Center highlight comeback win on senior day. They should roll over the Mount in this one. Vermont at UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell 0-10. They will not win this game. Vermont will get the win here and move up to tie at 2nd place in the American East Conference. Penn at Princeton is one of our Lax.com Games of the Week. Going to talk about that in a bit. And then some Big Ten primetime lacrosse. Michigan at Ohio State, 7 p.m.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game to watch at Ohio State, Michigan-Ohio State rivalry game. I expect this place to be rocking. This will probably be the biggest crowd they've seen all year. But, like I said earlier, I was very impressed with Ohio State against Hopkins. I know they lost, but they are a very solid and deep team, a team that has come a long way from the start of the season. So, defensively, they're deep. Offensively, they get a lot of production from guys including Gannon Matthews, the Cleveland State transfer, a couple other guys in Mariner, McKenna, and Mayer. And, some other young attackmen, too. They have a very balanced scoring offense, which is a scary thing if you're an opposing team. You don't know who to cover. They don't have a guy, in years past, they've had Jack Myers, who's been that quarterback at X. They don't have that this year. They kind of attack from all different angles. It's very tough to defend. Michigan, on the other hand, is another solid team. They're well coached. I just think the atmosphere at Ohio State is going to be enough to get them past Michigan and get this rivalry win for them.
Sunday, April 21st, start with Albany at Merrimack at 1 p.m. Albany coming off of a win against NJIT 14-9. Merrimack is coming off of a 14-9 win over UMass Lowell.
That's it for the weekend. Then Tuesday, April 23rd, we have Bryant at Brown. This is a rivalry game. Weird point in the season to have kind of an out-of-conference game, but Brown coming off a huge win against Princeton. This should be a good contest. Now joining the show is senior attackman for the Maryland Terrapins, number 4, Eric Malever. He's from Atlanta, Georgia, and has had a phenomenal career at Maryland. 2022 was part of the greatest show on turf when he won a national championship as a starting attackman. 2023 missed the entire year due to a torn ACL. Now he is second on the team in points and is set on leading them back to the national title game.
Malever off the roll dodge, fires, he scores! Eric Malever.
Eric, thanks so much for joining the show, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Yeah, we're just shooting the shit a little bit before recording here, just talking about your upbringing. So from Atlanta, Georgia, not a Georgia fan, though, a big Florida fan.
Oh, yeah. Go Gators.
Go Gators. Yep. We talked about the documentary a little bit. I wish it was a little juicier. I feel like they stayed on the surface. I wish they got deep and showed some beef there. But anywho, yeah, dude, we're fired up to have you on the show here. And I want to talk about just you being from Atlanta, Georgia for a little bit, because it's definitely, I don't want to, hopefully I'm not stepping over a line here, but I wouldn't call it a hotbed of lacrosse. So I definitely want to let you talk about your experience starting playing the game and kind of just how you got into it.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hotbed. I would agree with you. It's definitely gotten bigger in the South. Lacrosse, they've got great athletes down there, and we've been fortunate enough to have some great coaches come down, like Liam Banks, who started LB3. Coach John Zilberti, who sadly passed away, but was a big, there's many others, Scott Ratliff, TJ Kemp, Coach Pons, but those guys, started LB3 and moved down from Syracuse, where they all played and taught the game of lacrosse to a bunch of athletes. And they've helped so much grow the game down south. Coach Z was special to me because he really took me under his wing, and he was an attackman at Syracuse in the 80s and one of the best. And he kind of took me under his wing, and we would do lessons, and he would just, help me become a good player. And everything I know today is because of him. So I got to give him all the credit. Like I said, sadly, he passed away a couple years ago. But yeah, look down south, it's basketball, football, baseball. And nowadays it's starting to be lacrosse. So it's pretty cool to see guys playing at the highest levels and being able to play with two guys who I grew up with, Ryan Syracuse and Braden Erksa, is pretty cool.
So are they both from the Georgia area?
Yeah, we all live around 20 minutes from each other.
Wow.
Braden's a little younger, but Ryan and I grew up good friends. We both, when we committed to Maryland, got even closer. We hung out a lot. So pretty cool. Yeah.
Must have been some awesome summer shooting sessions. I would have loved to be a part
Yeah,
of.
definitely.
You guys were definitely ripping through nets at local high schools. Would have loved to be a part of that. Yeah, man. First of all, sorry for your loss. That's horrible. But I mean, coaches like that, I think a lot of people listening can relate to. We all have someone who kind of introduced us to the game, and we're very thankful for. So yeah, I'm very sorry.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
of course,
100%. There's always that one person, who like introduces you to the game, like you said. So,
and we all remember them.
Yeah.
Always remember them. Totally. Yeah, man. I want to ask a little bit about the past couple of years for you, because they've been a little bit crazy. So you show up to Maryland, you have a great freshman year. You're a second line midfielder. You play with Eric Holden, our good friend. And then you start to kind of work into the attack line towards the end of the year. You guys go to the national championship, come up 1 goal short. And the next year you win it. And then the next year you tear your ACL. And now you're back. You're playing some great lacrosse, leading one of the best offenses, best teams in the country. It must have been a crazy ride for you to get back to where you are today. So it would be great to just hear about this roller coaster and how you've overcome these obstacles.
Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster. That's a good way to describe it. I was fortunate enough to be a part of 2 great teams my freshman and sophomore year with some great older role models. Who really paved the way. So shout out them. Shout out Eric Holden if he's listening.
Yeah, he is. Promise.
He's definitely listening.
Great guy. It was awesome playing with him and Griffin Brown on that midfield line. We became tight. So, but yeah, so came up short that freshman year and learned from some of these great older guys. Jared Bernhardt's probably the greatest role model you could have. Maybe one of the best players to ever play lacrosse. So, and then, other guys like Logan Wisnauskas, all those guys. So sophomore year, I think we had that motivation that, we were 1 goal short and there was no other option but to get these 5th-year seniors what they came here to do. And we got it done, which is one of the coolest experiences probably in my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. We, just about everyone on the team got a tattoo, which is pretty cool. It'll be a part of me literally forever.
Where?
on the thigh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sure.
But yeah, last year was tough. Didn't expect to go down in the second practice of the year. Tore my whole knee up. Not ideal, but definitely used it as a learning tool to mentally figure myself out, grow up a little bit, physically try to get stronger, try to get back to where you were. And learned a lot. It for what it could have been, it was really not a bad year. Had some great trainers and staff help me out, and the players and coaches were great to me. So I'm forever grateful for that, making it as easy as possible. And then, yeah, this year I'm so happy to be back on the field, playing lacrosse and playing with my teammates. So it's been a fun year, and I look forward to the rest of it. So
totally, man.
Yeah,
totally. And you mentioned Jared Bernhardt there. He's on your coaching staff now. Is that correct?
He is. Yes.
And what's it like playing for him playing for him now after having played with him a few years earlier?
It's pretty cool to see it come in full circle. He's really helpful with, just like the little things, whether that's like shooting, dodging, cutting, whatever that may be. He's always given some great insight. So it's awesome to have him back.
Totally. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of these Big Ten games, and we've had guests on from the Patriot League, ACC, Ivy League, Big East. And what we always ask is, what's it like competing in your conference every single week? But the Big Ten is it's a gauntlet. It's a little bit different in my opinion. And early in the year, people are saying, it's a down year for Rutgers. Ohio State's not who they used to be. And now every week, every team in the conference is going toe to toe with whoever they play. So I just want to ask you, playing in this conference on a weekly basis, what is it like?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. Like, every game is a one goal game, 1 goal world out there. Like, there's so much talent. It's so competitive in the Big Ten. And I've seen some great defenses. There's been some unbelievable defenses. So not making it easy ever. Week to week, we know it's going to be a good game when you're in a Big Ten game. So yeah, like you said, it's as competitive as ever. And my first 2 years here, not that it wasn't competitive. We were very good, and I think this is reality. Like these 1-goal games, it's reality. So
Right.
I mean, like we've had a couple overtime games. I know Hopkins has had 2 back-to-back overtime games. So the margin for error is very, very little in the Big Ten games.
Totally. You mentioned Hopkins too, and obviously you need to ask about this game coming up. It's the 120th edition of the Rivalry, and you know it's a rivalry when it's literally titled the Rivalry. So that's fucking cool. But I mean, last week, speaking of rivalry games, we had Jackson Bonnets on the show last week, and we were talking a little bit about the Army-Navy game, and he kind of said, at the end of the day, it's a Patriot League game that we need to win. Do you guys kind of have the same mentality going into this game? I mean, similar to Army-Navy, I'm sure it's almost impossible to really just dumb it down to that, but it must be a little different just kind of knowing the atmosphere you're walking into at Homewood.
Yeah, I think Jackson nailed it because, yes, we know it's the biggest rivalry in lacrosse, but it is just like any other game. You know, we prepare the same way. We got to get a Big Ten win. You know, like we win on Saturday and we're Big Ten regular season champions. So it's just another game, and like Jackson said, it's a Big Ten game. We got to win it. So as hard as it is not to make it such a big deal, because it is, because of how the history and how big of a rivalry it is. We just got to play our game and compete like it's any other game.
Totally. And I hope I'm not breaking any news here, but it sounds like from our conversations with Eric, you will be back for a 5th year, or maybe you're still making a decision. But I want to let you talk for a second just about Maryland, the lacrosse program, what it means to you, and maybe for some younger recruits out there, why they should seriously consider coming to play in College Park, given the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I've had an awesome time here at Maryland. I've met some great people, got some great friends, great staff, coaches, PTs, anything. I love the location of Maryland. I love the academics. It's been great for me. I'm in the business school, and I'm about to graduate in May, which is so surreal. I feel like I just got here yesterday, but yeah, I mean, it's a great place if you want to, play at the highest level and compete for national championships.
Totally. It is the highest level. One thing, and I want your thoughts on this. Would you rather continue playing in the football stadium, or would you want Maryland to kind of build their own lacrosse only facility? Because you guys see, it would have to be a pretty big lacrosse only facility.
We definitely would need a bigger we would definitely need a bigger fan section than some of these other stadiums that are being built.
In the Big Ten specifically. There's a lot of them. Yeah.
I think some of them are very nice. Like this weekend with Hopkins, I think that's an iconic one. I bet there will be 10,000 plus people there. I think it's going to be sold out, which is pretty cool. I like playing in the stadium, but some people love it. Some people, I think Coach Tillman really likes it. Sometimes change is good. I wouldn't be opposed to a new stadium. I think that'd be pretty cool. Then again, I like playing in a stadium, so I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, it gets me going. The stadium conversation. I mean, they film your games from the Hubble telescope.
I know.
Which is probably why Tillman likes it, because the film is amazing to watch because he can see all the players. Which I understand that part of it. Sometimes though, the broadcast, all you see is empty seats, and that's not the case. There's more people at your games than there are anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So. Sorry, I could go on and on about this, but Eric, we really appreciate you having on the show, man. Good luck this weekend. We're going to watch every second of this game, and good luck going into Big Ten conference play as well as the tournament here in May.
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. I think what y'all are doing is pretty cool. And yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, Eric.
We cover every game every week, but there's 3 games of the week, and they are presented by Lax.com. They support us through providing statistics, live scores of every single game, every single week. And now I'm on their website, and I'm just looking through some gear, some apparel, some pads, some sticks, a lot of good stuff here. What are you thinking about buying your niece or nephew, to bring their game to the next level? Any thoughts here, fellas?
Well, they got a lot of good deals. If you go into the deals section, they got a ton of good deals, discounted high end equipment. I personally like the Maverick Shift arm guards. Those are a new product release from Maverick.
Sure.
They got the sleeve over them. They look pretty nice. I think I'll probably be wearing them this summer.
That's what TJ Malone wears, right?
Yeah, a lot of guys wear them.
Do they have any deals in the Shock Doctor core compression short with a cup pocket?
I don't know.
Probably.
Maybe if we had a discount code.
Perhaps.
I'm not even thinking about it. I already bought my nephew a Nike Alpha Huarache 9 Elite cleats, and they got size 13 too, so I might have to get that for my men's league.
Size 13.
Good ankles.
That's right.
That's why your balance was so good playing guys like, Teat.
It used to be back in the day.
I'm thinking about getting my nephew a nice goalie chest protector for when I just scintillate missiles at him. After I had a couple Bud Lights, not sure where it's going, but I know it'll be safe. So I think I'm gonna go with that one.
I have a few Bud Lights and ascend into prime Paul Rabel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right in the chest protector.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about these games. First one is the rivalry. Maryland at Hopkins. This one's going to be at Homewood. It's at 4:00. It's going to be packed. It is a cathedral of lacrosse. That's no doubt. There's a chance, and I'm a believer in this. I do not think both these programs will get an at-large bid.
I would agree with you, Dan.
I would disagree. Both teams have 3 losses. One of them, assuming they don't win the Big Ten tourney, one of them will have 4 losses. One of them will have 5 losses. There's not that many better teams with 2 or 3 losses. And you got to think, all these teams who don't win their conference tournament are going to add a loss to that category against a worse team than, Maryland and Hopkins. So I think Hopkins is a lock for an at-large bid. Maryland, I don't know as certain, but I think Hopkins is locked in.
I guess what I should have said, if both these teams don't win the Big Ten, I think they... Who's your favorite to win the Big Ten? Then we'll talk about the game.
I don't know. It's such a good question. I mean, if I had to pick one, probably Hopkins.
I think Maryland somehow pulls it off.
Brett?
I believe in Maryland.
Penn State?
You think it will be Maryland, Penn State?
I mean, they could.
We were talking between Maryland and Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
Which is who's going to win the Big Ten?
In general.
Yeah, who's going to win the Big Ten? And then we'll talk about this game.
I think Maryland or Penn State.
Really? I think that could be the championship.
I think Hopkins. I think they're hungry for championship lacrosse.
I agree.
Could be.
They're hungry for a championship. All right, let's talk about this game on Saturday. Love to hear your guys' thoughts, especially after Maryland seems to be playing better and better. Then Hopkins just gets it done again in overtime. They're favored big time against Ohio State, but they take the overtime win, which they will happily take. It's a tough environment. Ohio State's playing great lacrosse, and they throw the knockout punch as they're supposed to.
Right.
But
Set aside the fact that this is a rivalry. Let's set that aside. If we're going to use a measuring stick here, you just mentioned Ohio State. Hopkins just beat Ohio State 11-10 in overtime. And earlier in the year, Maryland beat them 8-7. These are both 1-goal games, both low-scoring 1-goal games, which would make you think this one's going to be pretty damn close.
Yeah, I don't think it's easy to pick a side on this game. I think both teams are capable of winning, capable of doing great things this year. It is important to note that Hopkins is coming off 4 straight Big Ten wins. With that win against Ohio State last week, and before that they beat Penn State, Michigan, and Rutgers. They're undefeated in the Big Ten, and going back home now at Homewood. There are rivalry games like Army-Navy, Michigan, Ohio State. I'm missing some, but Maryland-Hopkins is like the lacrosse rivalry game. It draws all the attention. It draws all the spotlights, all the coverage. This is the biggest game of the weekend.
It's huge. And you mentioned Hopkins won 4 in a row. Maryland's won 3 in a row. These are both teams that are hot right now, winning some games. And I'd like to point out a couple matchups as well. Scott Smith, who we talk about a lot on this podcast, on Bray Neskra, who has seemed to be in
Urksa.
Is it Urska?
Say it every week.
I do that every week, don't I? So I'm my apologies, Brandon. My apologies, but he seems to have been picking up his game and really assuming the initiator of that offense along with Malever. And then Ajax Zapatello on Jacob Angelis, who is a real shifty Dodger and is a tough matchup as well. So those will be two fun ones to watch in this rivalry.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty even roster matchup. Got experienced goalies. You got top cover guys in Zappatillo and Scott Smith. You got offenses that don't rely on one guy. They're both, kind of formed by, 7, 8, or 9 very talented players who all play a similar style. Obviously, there's difference in athleticism and size and skill sets, but it seems like, the top 10 offensive players on Hopkins could fit very nicely in the Maryland offense, and the top 10 players on the Maryland offense could fit nicely in the Hopkins offense. So this is going to be a game of grit. It's not going to be, who's more skillful, because both teams are skillful. It's going to be who turns the ball over less, who makes the better decisions, who saves the ball more, who wins faceoffs. It's going to be all of the nuances of the game.
Goaltending. Yep. McNaney and Erlin.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a fun matchup. I think Weirman's going to win the faceoff battle. And like you said, low scoring. So they're both, specialties are going to, and they've decided we've said this, specialties have decided Big Ten games this year.
Mm-hmm. A lot of low scoring, 1 to 3 goal games.
Yep. Expect another one. That's going to be an awesome lacrosse game. 4:00 at Hopkins. Next game is a classic, just a classic lacrosse game, a lot like the Maryland Hopkins. Virginia at Syracuse. This one is at 2:00. Let's talk about the big names first. Let's get right into the matchups, Mike.
Right into the matchups. It seems, and again, Cuse is a team where their matchup or their cover guy kind of switches in between Billy Dwan, 35, and what's 11's name?
We'll find that out.
I don't know.
I'm terrible with names, but it's kind of been switching off. It does seem like Billy Dwan has taken majority of the big time matchups. So I'm assuming Billy Dwan will be on Schellenberger, which would be a really good matchup. I do think that Schellenberger's speed might be an issue for Dwan, which is why they would put 11 on him. But regardless, keep an eye on that one. And then on the opposite side of the ball, you'll be watching Cole Kastner on Spalina. That is what I think would be a tough matchup for Spalina, just because of how large and long Kastner is. And Spalina's game, as we know, is getting into the body at the 5-5. He might struggle a little bit with the size of Cole Kastner, but that'll be a fun one to watch as well.
Riley Figueres.
Figueres. There we go.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. No, those are going to be great matchups. I agree. Spalina tends to be good against smaller defensemen where he can, get into them and then, use his creativity when he's up at 5-5 and get a shot off. I think Kastner just takes up more space. I think he throws real hard checks, which doesn't faze Spalina, but it's just a different matchup for him. One of superior athleticism and length, which he just has not seen yet this year. I just think this game, there's going to be 1 million goals scored. It feels like Syracuse hasn't been on national television at the Dome recently. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, they had 5 games in a row where it felt like we were watching them every week.
At home. Last one was at Duke back in March.
But, I think Syracuse is a different team in the Dome. They play fast. They're built for it. They move the ball extremely quickly. But I think Virginia is going to be electric to watch in the Dome. I think this game could be 23-22 or something like that.
I was over. What is the over line on this game? Obviously, it's too early to tell, but we also, the last big game that I remember watching in the Dome this year was against Duke, right? Duke, and in that game, they put the clamps on Duke. I believe Duke scored 4 goals in that game, and they just put 18 on UVA.
Mm-hmm.
So, hit or miss. Is Cuse going to put the clamps on UVA? Probably not. So, I'm going to go assume over here with you, Hayden.
Yeah, and it's also all the elements are contained here. Wind, rain, snow. It's not going to affect the game. It's almost Virginia's like a springtime outdoor team. I feel like they play best in great weather outside. I don't know if they're going to be a little stuffy when they go in the Dome, but It's going to be quick. The sticks are going to be hot. This ball is going to be moving so quick. I'm very excited to watch.
It's fast-paced, transition, flashy, some would say, just highlight goal lacrosse. And as you mentioned, that game is best played in literally no elements affecting the play.
Mm-hmm. The balls just seem a little stickier in the dome.
It's going to be the best Virginia-Syracuse game, I think, in a while.
It could be. Has likings for it.
Also, is Virginia... I'm not a fan of this. They start to wear a throwback jersey late in the year. They did it last year. And I think they're wearing like 1999 uniforms now. They're like kind of retro. Now, like that's just their uniform now. That's just what they wear.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. I'm not a fan of it. You wear throwbacks for a game or two just to say, look what we have. And it's cool. Recruits see it. It's awesome. Maybe make a few bucks at the pro shop, but that's not your uniform now. Go back and wear what you wear. You put last names on your jerseys.
That's another thing.
And now they're in the closet for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it like a hysteria thing where it's like we won in these jerseys, now we got to keep wearing them till we lose?
Well, they wore them all the way through championship weekend last year, and I don't know. It's annoying to me. What are you doing? These are your throwback jerseys. Now it's you. Why are you trying to act like the whatever 2001 team?
Right, your 2024
right.
UVA.
Where are the jerseys?
Cavaliers.
Where are the jerseys that you just stitched names into? Producer says, shut up and move along. So we're going to do that. Pennsylvania at Princeton. This one's at 5 o'clock on Saturday. This is the Ivy League game of the week, if you will. Princeton coming off a bad loss.
Bad.
Obviously. Pennsylvania has turned a lot of heads this year.
Yeah.
But doesn't it feel... Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we should set the Ivy League picture here.
It's tight at the top.
There's
a lot of good records.
Yes. So Yale and Penn are both 4-1. They're tied for first. Both of those teams are in the tournament.
Yes.
They will be in the tournament. Cornell is 3-1. They're, in third place. They will be in the tournament. Princeton and Harvard, it's going to be one of the two. Brown still has a shot, but it's very unlikely. Brown would have to beat Harvard and Dartmouth, which they could, and Princeton would have to lose to Penn this week and Yale next week, which is possible. But, obviously a lot of things have to happen. Essentially, if Princeton wins against Penn this week, they secure that fourth spot in the Ivy League tournament. So for Princeton, they have this week and they have next week to secure their spot in the Ivy League. Obviously it's tough going against the top two teams in the conference, but Princeton's solid. They could win this game.
But now you're talking at large too. It's like Princeton's out of the conversation. Mm-hmm. They're not getting it at large, but Penn even seems like a really tough, like they have to win this game and they have to make it to the championship, I feel like, to maybe have a chance.
Dude, Cornell's 7-4.
Yeah.
They might not get an at-large.
Cornell's 7-4.
Yeah. I think
I don't know. The Ivy League is very questionable with the at-large scenario, and now the tournament itself, it's like you said, it's heavy at the top. That's a really tough conference to win.
Because to break it down even further, Dartmouth is out. Brown out. Princeton or Harvard are going to miss the tournament.
Princeton's going to miss the tournament.
Penn's in, Yale's in. Cornell's in.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fourth spot that's up for grabs. And I think, it's not going to be like 2021 where 2022 where like 5 Ivy League teams make the tournament. It's just not going to happen.
I think it's 2 max.
Yeah. Let's talk about this game
okay.
for a minute. Pennsylvania at Princeton, 5 o'clock.
Let's focus on this game and let's focus on a specific matchup. Brendan Lavelle, Penn's Brendan Lavelle on Princeton's Coulter Mackesy. A very, very fun one to watch. 2 big names. Brendan Lavelle has made a name for himself this year on national spotlight in some big games and on some big matchups. And Coulter Mackesy has proven me wrong this year. I think I started out the year saying Coulter is a goal scorer. He knows how to get points, but I don't know how great of a Dodger he is, and he is a great Dodger, and he really knows how to take advantage of some really top-tier matchups. So this will be a fun one to watch and will be marquee, important in this game.
Yeah, that will be a great matchup. I think, one thing to note here is Princeton is very young on offense. They don't have a single senior in the top 10 scorers on the offensive side of the ball. Penn is a little more senior and junior heavy. They have some experience in these games. They've kind of, been through the road bumps this year and know what it feels like to lose. And they're a team that could win the Ivy League. They just got to show up in this game and put it away.
I think Kabiri is beginning to become one of their guys offensively too. He took the last shot against Brown. He's getting put in some big spots, big locations. And you talk about this young offense per Princeton. I could see them kind of, getting shy of a dominant Pennsylvania, just defensive end of the ball. Emmett Carroll, maybe the best goalie in the country.
He is.
Second in save percentage. And then a defender like Brendan Lavelle. It can be intimidating if they kind of take control early as a physical, strong defense against a group of young players. I could see that getting in their heads.
Yeah.
Which they've proven. If you watch a lot of Penn games, look at a lot of Penn scores, they're usually pretty low scoring. They keep themselves in games with their defense. It's just the type of style they play, physical, dominant defense, getting in the heads of their attackmen, maybe getting them out of their flow. So I do think, Dan, that's an excellent point of what they could do to Princeton's psyche.
Yeah, Penn doesn't let any game get out of reach. They beat Harvard last week 15-12, a good Harvard team. And then before that, they played Yale to a 3-goal game. It was 12-9, low scoring, which is hard to do against Yale. I think Princeton would love to open this game up and just let their young guys go. But this is going to come down to, who's more disciplined. Can Princeton, find some holes in the Penn defense? Because they're going to have to work for every goal. Every possession is going to be a battle. Penn is not just going to give up easy goals that, Princeton wants to score.
Yep. And last thing I'll say about the at-large, Penn is defending a bid at at-large. Mm-hmm. Princeton's not playing for that. They are trying to win the Ivy League. Penn is playing for the Ivy League and to get an at-large bid. All right. Picks. Starting with Maryland at Hopkins, Saturday, 4 o'clock. Brett.
Like I said before, I'm going to go Maryland here.
I will take Hopkins.
I'm going to go Hopkins.
Maryland. Virginia at Syracuse, the ACC game of the week. This one's in the Carrier Dome, 2 o'clock Saturday.
I think it's Syracuse here. I like Syracuse.
I'm going to go Syracuse as well.
Give me UVA.
Take Syracuse. Because we talked about it, I'm just thinking about what they did to Duke at home.
Yep.
That game on a Wednesday night, first ACC game of the year. I like Syracuse. Our Ivy League game of the week, the last one. Doug Fry, the University of Pennsylvania Quakers at Princeton.
Quakers. I'm going Penn. Penn's my
I'll
pick.
take Penn too.
Princeton.
Jersey boy.
I like the Quakers. Give me Pennsylvania. And give us another excellent week of college lacrosse. We've enjoyed every moment thus far. It's getting near the end. We're getting towards some big conference tournaments, some huge games. Just a reminder for all you guys to follow the podcast, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, also on social media at Lacrosse Game Day on X, and then at College Lacrosse Game Day on Instagram. Thank you guys so much.
Hold in, getting underneath. Maltz, great catch by Bernhardt. Score!